But it's an incredible day we're living, guys, and we cannot lose sight of that. Now, those sounds, the sound that would resonate within the people of God as it comes down through history, and then by the time music began to be redefined, and it was a grassroots cultural thing, not a classical thing at all. It was a grassroots culture that carried something in their DNAs that was war and worship, that had been ripped off by all kinds of New Age mythological craziness and all the stuff. But now, that by the time it made to the Grand Ole Opry in 45, Bill Monroe walks out on the stage and he does a song called Jerusalem Ridge, of all things. And because he was born in Kentucky in Jerusalem Ridge, not far from where some people I met earlier today is from. And so there again, you find something redemptive happening there. Well, right on the heels of that, suddenly music changes because a Welshman named Hank Williams steps on the stage. And when Hank Williams walks onto the stage, he's carrying the DNA of the song of the land of song, which is Wales. When he walks onto the stage, the Grand Ole Opry, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage of the Grand Ole Opry. Hank, and the first time he'd ever been there, he walks on the stage, and when he begins to play, almost 3,000 people see a phenomenon take place that rattled the place. They had 7 encores. The place went into, they thought there was going to be a riot, and it was this boy from Alabama, skinny boy. He drank, he was fatherless. His hurt was being expressed through his music. And he walked out and he began to sing, and he said that it was as if he were a coat on a hanger dangling around the microphone, and there were blue lights all over him, and there were no blue lights in the place. And such a frenzy happened that music, the short version is that suddenly music was redefined. Now you got a guy, the first guy to live the rock and roll lifestyle before rock and roll. Okay? Because now it's cheating, carousing music. Right on the heels of that. And by the way, Hank Williams just received a Pulitzer Prize after all these years. The father of that musical expression. All these years, everybody knows who Hank Williams is. The sad songs, the cheating songs, I'm so lonesome I could cry, all that stuff. Redefined music. Welshman. And then he died. 29-year-old kid. We think he's some 29-year-old kid. And up steps the next Welshman, Elvis Presley. His mother is Jewish, father is Welsh. Carrying something of the DNA of the land of song. He steps onto the stage. And when Hank's gone, up steps Elvis. His family goes back to the Preseli Mountains, Presley, in the land of song. Patron saint of Wales, Saint David, baptized by Saint Elvis. See all these crazy little things that you just don't know what to do with. And you start seeing them show up. You start seeing that the song on their national anthem is a song for the prophets and the minstrels to be heard in the land again. That's their national anthem. So you start seeing these redemptive things that within the DNAs of these people that God is going to, and He's going to bring all tribes and tongues together and begin to release those songs that are within those that are offspring. Okay, I don't get too convoluted here. If I've already lost you, make up something and tell the person beside of you that'll get them back. But I just wanted you to see there's something huge in our generation. There's something huge taking place right now in the realm of the Tabernacle of David. There's something far bigger than we can get our heads around. And somebody's got to be crazy enough, I think, at times to just begin to just touch these things and say, God, keep our hearts pure. We're coming after you no matter what kind of ghoulies we have to jump through, no matter what kind of systems that have been created to rob you of the praise and the honor and the glory that is due you. Whatever history has done, we want to be those that rewrite history, and we're going to be the what-if crowd that's going to dream a little and go after God. Now, see, the only reason I never share this stuff publicly like this, but the only reason I would be brave enough to throw this at you guys is because here's the last part of what I'm trying to say. If a new sound's coming in our nation and in the nations now, it's going to be connected to a resident anointing that rests upon this organization right here that I don't even know that much about. But I can tell you right now that the next thing that happened is Elvis goes off to war. And up steps 4 guys from Liverpool with bad haircuts that shifts everything. And when they step into the realm, they come from the Mercy Sound. It was called the Mercy Sound, from Mercy River. Out of Liverpool they come. And here they're carrying 4 Elvis anointings, if you will, and begin to shift things. And they wind up in Shea Stadium, and here's where the incredible happened. They wind up in America, in Shea Stadium. They walk onto the stage at Shea Stadium, and the sound is released, and nobody heard the Beatles. The Beatles didn't hear the Beatles. Nobody heard the Beatles. 55,000 people are screaming at the top of their voices. They couldn't hear Ringo playing drums, hitting his heart. You see them in interviews, they'll tell you, they got 40-watt Vox amps sitting on the stage, half the size of this, in front of 55,000 people, that's releasing a sound of misdirected worship into a generation. And if you look at the video, I've been to Liverpool and I've done the study, you look at all the videos and the footage, they were doing the 7 Hebrew words for praise, every one of them demonstrated. Shouting, singing, dancing, kneeling, weeping, crying, all of it is there, fully expressed, misdirected worship. But something was activated and there was no sound reinforcement system that could handle it. That birthed the sound reinforcement industry. Right out of that group, I'm jumping a lot of stuff here now, but right out of that came a sound in 1967 with Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club's Band, was the introduction of psychedelic music, which was the soundtrack to align with the theology of Timothy Leary and hold a nation of young people hostage through all these wild and crazy ideas that were going on at the time. In the middle of that, God said, wait a minute, I got some praying mothers that want to do something about this. The charismatic renewal, the summer of love, psychedelic music. Here we are just getting ready to, now they introduced this whole thing. In 67, once this thing began to explode, and now the Beatles actually sneak out, come incognito to up the road here to the Golden Gate Park, San Francisco, to see the product or byproduct of what they've done musically. They want to come and see it for themselves, and they do. They get there, and they look, and they see that young people are jumping off of bridges. Free love ain't free. There's death. There's ODs here. All of this thing had happened. And it shocked their system to the point that they never did drugs again. They stopped it then. No more dope, no more. But they realized the power of their music to create a vocabulary and a spiritual environment for a generation. So they said, so they went and got them a guru. I'm making the story short. They went and got them a Maharishi dude, and they had started applying that Hinduish sound to their sound and began to write a new vocabulary for a generation. But there was one catch. This guy that would give all the little, like the sage or the shaman that would give them all their theology, he could only do that if they would play their music and they worship him. And they had to be worship him. Now to do that, he also told them up front, we're going to go to the most spiritual place in the world because we're going to release now a new religion that will capture a generation through the music. That was their plan. And I'm not one of these demon hunter guys. I'm just telling you a historical fact. You hear me? So where do they go? They go to Bangor, Wales, which is supposed to be the center of the cosmos according to the Druids and all the New Age mysticism and Stonehenge and all the stuff that wraps around this. That's where they go. And of course, not long after that, they were totally and completely disillusioned by this guy that they had been worshiping, because he's, all the bazillions of they're giving him, he's buying women in the hotels and stuff. So that breaks that down. But they've now already have adopted a sound that they have to adhere to. So they got a guy named Ravi Shankar, who out of that relationship comes Ravi Shankar's little daughter named Nora Jones. She doesn't claim him to be her father. She says it's her father, but there's no relationship there. So what I'm showing you is generation after generation, the DNA and the desire of God continues. But now we're at a time that's is as critical or more pivotal than it was then. This is the day that a new sound is coming, and if it's not birthed out of radical, ravenous, fire-breathing bunch of mothers that care for their nation and care for the world, there's going to be a whole new... See, the church ever since has been 20 years behind everything on the... There is no cutting edge of creativity in the church where it's supposed to be. Look what happens in the church. We're 20 years behind. Why? Because we spend first, anything cutting edge creativity comes out, the church spends the first 10 years cutting it down, rejecting it, criticizing it, and the second 10 years then trying to emulate it, and we wonder why we're 20 years behind. Well, ladies, it's time for that thing to shift. It's time for this, for there to be a prayer, praise, and proclamation with an anointing that sees results begin to happen in the music realm. Because right now, the media is exploding. We live in a media-controlled environment all over the world, and we're losing. And somebody's got to stand up and say it. We're losing. But that is not the way it's going to continue to be. That is not what it's about. The doxology has not been sung yet, and I'm telling you, the women are going to be the ones that release the sound that was argued about and fined for all those years ago.